right, let's dive into this Galician wine thing.
Okay.
We've got this ebook, Desvendando os Vinos da Galicia, a complete guide from the winemaker.
Yeah,
And it's written by an actual winemaker, so, they're passionate about it.
for sure, yeah.
Apparently, Galicia, it's in northwest Spain. They're having a bit of a wine moment.
Oh, yeah, it's really having a renaissance. It's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't really even know they made wine there.
It's one of those regions that's been overlooked for so long,
Yeah.
but it's making a comeback big time.
So before we get into, like, specific bottles and stuff,
Yeah.
what is Galicia like? Like, if I were to go there, what would I see?
Well, think lush green landscapes.
Okay.
Rolling hills, dramatic coastlines. It's beautiful.
Okay.
And the terrain's really diverse, just like the wines.
Oh.
You've got the Atlantic coast with cool, humid air, and then inland you've got mountains, so it's more continental.
Mm.
And all of that creates all these microclimates and terroirs, so each wine region has its own distinct personality.
And it's got a long history with wine, right?
Absolutely. I mean, winemaking in Galicia goes all the way back to the Romans.
Wow.
And later on, the monasteries, they were like super important for, preserving viticulture, especially during those turbulent times.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's fascinating how that history, you can really taste it in the wines today.
Okay, well, I'm ready to taste it.
Okay.
Let's start with the specifics.
Sure.
Galicia has 5 main wine regions, right?
Yeah, they're called Denominaciones de Origen, or DIOs.
Oh, okay, Bios, all right. And the first one is Rías Baixas.
Rías Baixas, yeah.
Okay, that's the one I've heard of, the Kingdom of Albarino.
Ah, yes. Rías Baixas.
That's all I know.
If you love those crisp, refreshing white wines, this is where you want to be.
Okay.
Albarino is the star grape here, and it just thrives in that cool Atlantic climate.
So it's citrusy, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You get like vibrant citrus aromas, hints of white flowers, and this amazing saline minerality like the ocean breeze.
Yeah, okay. I've had a few Albarinos. They're very, like, refreshing,
Right.
Easy to drink, kind of. But is that all there is to this grape? Like, is that it?
Not at all. Winemakers are getting really creative,
It's okay.
They're using different techniques like aging in an amphorae, those clay pots,
Oh, okay.
that gives the wine this amazing texture, richer, and you get these interesting oxidative notes.
Wow, okay.
It's definitely not your typical simple white wine.
Yeah. Now, Rías Baixas, are there different, like, areas within Rías Baixas?
Definitely. So you have Val do Salnés. That's considered like the heartland of Albarino.
Okay.
You'll find some of the most like iconic expressions of that grape there.
Oh, okay.
But there's also Orozo, Condado do Te, Sotomayor. They
Oh.
each have their own little differences in the soil and the climate.
Mm.
And you can taste those differences in the wines. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. You know what? Now I'm thinking about seafood. Because I always hear, like, Albarino seafood, they're like the perfect pair.
Oh, absolutely. That bright acidity in Albarino cuts through the richness of seafood.
Yeah.
Think grilled octopus, oysters, even just steamed mussels.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect match.
Okay, so we've explored the Albarino kingdom. What's next? What's our next adventure?
Okay, let's head inland to Ribeiro.
Ribeiro.
It's known for its elegant wines, both white and red.
Okay, Ribeiro. Wait, isn't that where it gets all, like, heroic?
Ah, you're thinking of Ribera Sacra.
Oh,
Forget that.
okay.
Ribeiro is more of a transition zone, climate-wise. It's still got that Atlantic influence, but summers are warmer, winters are cooler,
Okay.
and you've got a mix of schist, granite, and clay soils, so you
Mhm.
get a wider range of wine styles there.
Okay, so it's not just all Albarino there.
No. Ribeiro is like a melting pot of grapes. For whites, you'll find Trexadua, Godello, Albarino, Lorero.
Okay.
Each one adds its own little aromatic touch to the blend.
I'm writing this down. Hold on.
Uh,
Okay, got it. What about reds? Any reds stand out?
Oh, yeah. You've got Mencia.
Mencia.
That's the dominant red grape in Ribeiro. It gives the wines structure, complexity. You get flavors of red berries, herbs, a little spice.
Okay.
You'll also find Branchelao, Suson, Caíño Tinto.
Oh, wow. Okay, I have to try those.
So they're very interesting.
Okay, I'm adding that to the list. Ribeiro Mencia. Okay, now tell me about Ribera Sacra, this heroic viticulture. What's so heroic about it?
Okay, Ribera Sacra, it is truly breathtaking.
Okay.
Imagine these dramatic slopes, almost vertical, carved by the Sil River.
Wow.
And the vineyards are just clinging to these hillsides.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. It's a testament to human dedication and perseverance to work those vineyards.
I remember seeing something about that on TV, I think.
Yeah.
It's crazy, the work that goes into it.
Yeah, and the microclimate there with the schist and granite soils makes it perfect for red wines.
And Mencia is the star there.
Well,
too.
C is the star. The wines have incredible depth, minerality, and the smoky, earthy character.
So it's the same grape, Mencia, but totally different from the Ribera
Well,
Mencia.
completely different. It's all about where it's grown, you know?
Wow, that's amazing.
It's the diversity of Galician wine. You just never know what you'll find.
So is it all reds in Ribera Sacra? Or is there any white wine there?
Well, reds definitely dominate, but you'll find pockets of Godello and Albarino too, adding a touch of white to the mix.
Okay, all right. So that's Ribera Sacra.
Yes.
What about Valdeorras? I keep hearing about a grape, Godello. What's the deal with Godello?
Valdeorras is where Godello really shines. It's an ancient grape, from Galicia, but it almost disappeared.
Really?
Yeah. Luckily, some passionate winemakers saw its potential and brought it back.
So what's so special about it? Why bring it back?
Godello makes these age-worthy, structured white wines. They've got this amazing depth and complexity.
Okay.
They're almost like oily in texture with notes of stone fruit, citrus, and this mineral backbone.
Okay.
Some winemakers use sobrelius aging, which makes them even more interesting.
What's that? Sobrelias?
Yeah, it means they age the wine on the lees, the leftover yeast cells.
Okay.
It adds this creamy texture and nutty complexity.
Valdeorras Godello.
Oh,
Okay, I've got to try that. What about Mencia? Is Mencia there?
Mencia is there, yeah, but Godello is definitely the star in Valdeorras. You'll also find some Garnacha Tintorera, which is Alicante Boucher.
Okay.
That adds color and some wild berry fruit to the blend.
All right, so we've done 4 of the 5 DOs, and I'm just curious, overall, what are some of the challenges Galician winemakers are facing?
Well, I mean, the terrain itself is a huge challenge, especially in places like Ribera Sacra.
Yeah, I bet.
Working those steep slopes is incredibly demanding physically and financially.
Yeah, it's got to be.
But I think it's part of what makes the wine so unique.
Yeah.
The
definitely.
dedication of these winemakers, you can taste it in the wines, and they're also rediscovering these ancient grape varieties, reviving them.
Yeah.
It's all about preserving their heritage, showing off that unique terroir of Galicia.
Okay, so last DO, what is it?
Okay, let's head east to Monterey.
Monterey.
That's where Galicia meets Portugal, so the wines have a bit of a cross-cultural flair.
Ooh, Monterey. Okay, I'm ready.
You're right.
Monterey, okay. So this is like a whole different side of Galician wine.
Yeah, you could say that. The other DOs, they're all about Galicia's Atlantic and Celtic roots.
Right.
But Monterey, it shows you that connection to Portugal.
Gotcha.
It's right on the border, and you can see it in the grapes they grow, the winemaking style.
So are we talking like a totally different experience from the other regions?
Not completely different. You'll still see Mencia playing a big role.
Okay.
But even Mencia kind of changes its personality in Monterey.
Interesting.
Remember all those microclimates we talked about?
Yeah.
Monterey's got a more continental climate, so warmer summers, cooler winters, and the soil's mostly granite.
So how does that affect the Mencia?
Well, the Mencia wines from Monterey, they tend to be a bit softer, rounder than, say, the ones from Ribera Sacra. Still complex, structured, but you get more ripe fruit, like juicy red berries, plums, maybe a bit more spice.
So not as much of that like mineral taste.
Yeah.
I feel like the Ribera Sacra Mencia was really minerally.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 2 different versions of the same grape,
Yeah.
It all comes down to where it's grown. Monterey Mencias, they can be super elegant, silky texture, beautiful aroma.
And are there other red grapes in Monterey?
Oh, for sure. You'll find Aracha there,
Oroche.
which is actually Tempranillo,
Okay.
the grape you usually find in Rioja and Ribera del Duero.
Right.
But it adds a layer of structure and complexity to Monterey reds. Dark fruit, tobacco, maybe a hint of leather.
Sounds like it would age well.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Now, you mentioned the Portuguese connection. So
Yeah.
are there any like actual Portuguese grapes growing in Monterey?
You bet. Look out for Bastardo.
Bastardo. Okay.
It's a Portuguese variety known for its deep color, intense fruit, and firm tannins. It really adds that Portuguese soul to the blend, I guess you could say.
I like that. A little Portuguese soul in the wine.
Yeah.
Hey, we've been talking so much about red wine, I almost forgot to ask about the whites. Are there any good white wines in Monterey?
Well, Monterey is definitely known for its reds, but you can find some beautiful white wines there too.
Okay.
Trisadura, which we talked about in Ribero, it's the key player here. It does really well in Monterey's climate.
Okay.
You get these refreshing wines, good acidity, and lovely aromas. Citrus blossom, green apple, hint of herbs.
So Trisadura, is it mainly used for blends or do they make single varietal wines from it?
Both. Triquesadura is pretty versatile, but in Monterey, it really shines on its own. It can make some seriously complex, flavorful wines.
Monterey Triquesadura. Okay, adding that to my list.
Sure.
So any specific producers or wines we should be looking for in Monterey?
Well, the ebook mentioned Bodegas Ladero. They're making some excellent Mencia.
Okay.
They're all about showcasing that Monterey terroir.
And Terrace Gauda, they're in Monterey too, right? I think we mentioned them with Rias Baixas.
You're right, they are. They've got a highly regarded Godello from their Monterey vineyards.
Okay.
Shows you that Godello can really thrive in different places.
It's really cool how some producers work across different DOs.
Yeah.
Using different grapes, it shows how diverse Galician wine is.
Absolutely. The Galician wine scene is so dynamic. Winemakers are always experimenting, pushing boundaries, rediscovering what these native grapes can do.
We've been through all 5 DOs now, from the Albarino Kingdom to heroic viticulture to Portuguese soul.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. What stands out to you the most about Galician wine? Like, after all this, what do you think?
It's that sense of place, you know? You can really taste it in every bottle.
Yeah.
The history, the landscape, the passion of the people making these wines.
I completely agree. It's all about terroir, isn't it? But beyond the terroir and the grapes, are there any, like, big trends or innovations happening in Galician wine?
Well, sustainability is a big one. More and more winemakers are going organic and biodynamic.
Oh, that's great.
They understand how important it is to protect the land for the future.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's also a growing movement towards minimal intervention winemaking.
Okay.
It's about using fewer additives, letting the grapes speak for themselves.
It's like a natural approach.
Exactly. It fits perfectly with Galicia's winemaking traditions.
It's old and new at the same time.
Right. Honoring tradition, but also innovating. Galician wine is in good hands.
We've learned so much about Galician wine in this deep dive, but it feels like we've only scratched the surface.
You're right. There's always more to discover. From the small family wineries to the big innovators, there's something for everyone.
Before we start planning our trip to Galicia, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? Like, if they want to explore these wines, where should they start?
Be curious, be adventurous, don't be afraid to try something new, step outside your comfort zone.
So embrace the diversity.
Exactly. Go beyond Albarino, try Godello, Mencia, Tresadura, all those hidden gems.
And ask questions.
Yes. Talk to the winemakers, learn the stories behind the wines.
It's like, it's more than just wine, right?
Exactly. It's a conversation, a connection to the land and the people.
That's a great way to put it. I think we've given everyone a lot to think about, a lot to explore. As we raise a glass to Galicia, what's one thing you hope our listeners will take away from our deep dive?
I hope they come away with a sense of wonder and appreciation for the beauty and diversity of Galician wine. And I hope they're inspired to go on their own adventure, discover those hidden gems, the untold stories.
Cheers to that. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of Galician wine.
Yeah, a toast to Galicia.
To Galicia.
I feel like we've been on this adventure, you know, exploring all these wines. Now we just need to go there.
I know, right?
And you were talking about all those hidden gems.
Yeah.
The smaller wineries, the grapes you don't really hear about.
Right.
Where do we even start looking for those?
That's the fun part. It's about going beyond the big names, finding those family-run places, the ones that have been making amazing wine, like, forever.
So, like, going off the beaten path a little bit. Exactly. And talk to the winemakers, hear their stories. You know, that's what makes those wines come alive.
It's like a treasure hunt, almost.
Yeah, kind of. And sometimes you find those treasures in the most unexpected places.
Like where?
You might find this tiny winery in Ribera Sacra.
Oh, okay.
Working with some super rare grape, almost forgotten, you know?
Yeah.
Or you stumble upon a place in Monterey that's using these ancient techniques, but the wines are still, like, totally modern?
That blend of old and new, it's everywhere in Galician wine, isn't it?
It is. It's like the Galician people themselves. They're resilient. They adapt.
Yeah.
They've faced challenges, but they've always held on to their traditions, and they're not afraid of progress.
You can taste all of that in the wines.
Absolutely. The history, the passion, that connection to the land, it's all there.
So if someone wants to experience, like, the real magic of Galician wine, what should they do?
Go beyond the guidebooks.
Go.
Talk to the locals and be open to the unexpected.
Be open to the unexpected.
Let the wines lead you, you know?
It's like immersing yourself in the whole culture.
It is. Every bottle tells a story, and we just have to listen.
We've given everyone a lot to think about, a lot to explore.
We have.
As we raise a glass to Galicia, what's one thing you hope people take away from this deep dive?
I hope they come away with a sense of wonder,
an
appreciation for the beauty, the diversity, just how delicious Galician wine is.
Yeah.
And I hope they're inspired to go on their own adventure, you know? Discover those hidden gems, the untold stories.
I love that. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of Galician wine. Cheers, everyone.